On a lot of programs now, we can count rental income on ADUs. So Fannie Mae just last month said that they are now going to allow financing of 2, 3, and 4 unit properties with only 5% down payment. Hey everybody, it's John King with Summit Funding, and it is Friday, December the 1st, and I'm coming to you on a beautiful sunny morning here in Northern California. I got my sunglasses on, my Hawaiian shirt, but it is Christmas themed and Disney themed, so definitely theming it for this kickoff to the first day of December. So there's a lot going on that I want to cover today, a lot of topics I want to cover. Listen to the end because there's some major shifts happening in legislation in the state level, at the federal level, at the city levels that are going to change housing dramatically going into the future, and you're going to want to understand this. So the first thing I'm going to start out with is interest rates. Interest rates are good. As a matter of fact, November was a great month for us. We saw interest rates come down from the high 7s, low 8s to now around the high 6s to low 7s. A big decrease in a short amount of time. That's really good news, unless you're looking to buy a home. Why, John? Why in the world is it bad news if I'm looking to buy a home? Lower interest rates means lower payment. It means more competition. This week alone, I've received 3 phone calls from buyers who were thinking about getting back into searching for a home now that they've heard interest rates have come down. That means there's going to be more competition. Competition is not good. There are already too few homes for sale because there's not enough inventory out there. I've been talking about this for the last year plus. What I'm going to cover in the rest of this video is going to make a big impact to how they're going to solve the housing crisis. But before I get there, if you're looking to buy a home right now, December is still on your side. Why? Because a lot of people don't want to move in the holidays. A lot of people, I've talked to one of the 3 people that called and said, I think I'll still wait until after the first of the year because I don't want to move during the holidays, but I'm glad to hear rates are going down and I hope they keep going down. And I said, be careful what you wish for, because there's going to be a lot more people competing for those same few homes come the first of the year because they're thinking the same thing that you are. So don't try and do what everybody else is doing at the same time that everybody else is doing it, because the price of the home is going to go up. You're going to end up paying more for that home. All right. So what's the big deal about what's going on right now in the housing market? It is units. It is really what's called the missing middle. Now, the missing middle is kind of a weird term. And honestly, I heard it for the first time about 30 days ago, and I've been studying it a lot, and I've been really getting an understanding of what it is, and I think I've got a lot more to learn about what the missing middle is. But let me give you kind of a brief overview of what the missing middle is and how this is expected to solve the housing crisis going forward. So if we rewind back to the 1940s, a lot of homes that were built back in the 40s were actually multi-unit properties, especially along the East Coast, New York, Boston, DC area. You've got a lot of multi-family homes that were built where they were 2, 3, or 4 unit properties. They were sometimes, I know a colleague of mine, his son lives in Pennsylvania, and he owns a duplex. It's 2 units, one on top of each other. So it looks like a 2-story home from the outside, but the first floor is 1 unit, the second floor is another unit, and he owns this duplex. So why does that matter? Because in the 1950s, we started moving away from multifamily properties. Single family homes became the American dream, and everybody started moving out to the suburbs. Now we fast forward to the 1970s and people started building multifamily homes again, and a lot of multifamily homes were built in the 1970s. And then as we hit the 80s, the 90s, and the 2000s, it went the complete opposite direction. So the middle of this construction boom, we were missing building multifamily properties, which means that they had to spread out further away from the epicenter of town into the suburbs in order to create all of these homes. And now there's just no more room to create more homes. And so they're looking to redo or replace these homes that are in the middle of the cities with multi-family homes. Now, before you say, oh my God, I don't want a bunch of apartment complexes in my backyard, you have to understand they're not talking about just a bunch of apartment complexes. They're talking about putting an ADU in the backyard of your current home. They're talking about renovating homes and turning it into a duplex where it looks just like a single family home, but they kind of cut it down the middle and they have 2 front doors and each side just has half of the space. There's a lot of ways in which they can do this, but it does not look like we've got just big blocks and big apartment blocks. And if done right, this can solve the housing crisis. But there's some major upheaval that's going to happen in between. What we're going to see is we're going to see legislation come out that says we can do this, but the actual players, the people who were involved in it, they can't make it happen. I'll give you an example. Just last month, the state of California passed a law that said you can sell your accessory dwelling unit as a separate home and still stay in your main home. So this is my house right here. I've got a backyard that I'm in right now. I could put an ADU, a freestanding home that is attached to the foundation in my backyard. And then by state law, I'm now allowed to sell that to somebody else. Well, the problem is that there's a bunch of moving parts to this. The first thing is the state law says, well, your local county has to agree and they have to put in their guidelines. So this is only one layer of what's been approved. The second thing, you actually have to convert your property from a single family home to a condominium. Why? Because condominiums have shared space that the association is in charge of maintaining the shared space. If I sold somebody the accessory dwelling unit in my backyard, they're going to have to walk through my yard and park in my driveway and or walk across my driveway in order to get into my backyard. Therefore, there is shared space. We're not drawing a new line where we are creating a new lot. That is not what the law is saying. We're not creating a new lot or subdividing the lot into another lot. Into two lots. What we're doing is we're taking the one lot and we're allowing multiple homeowners to own their unit on that lot. That's essentially the definition of a condominium. But now you've got to have an association. You've got to have bylaws. You've got to have a budget, because in order for us to do a loan on a condominium, you have to have all of those things in place. So there's different sets of rules that we've got to work out, and the lenders, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, FHA, VA, they have to figure out how are they going to make this happen. The local counties need to figure out what their rules are going to be to make this happen. So is this going to happen immediately? No. But I want you to think about what the future looks like. I want you to think about maybe a person retires and they have a beautiful home in an area that they love, but they don't need that big of a house. But they love the area, they love their neighbors, they love where they live. So maybe they build an ADU in their backyard. Maybe it's a mobile home. Maybe it's a tiny home. Who knows? Maybe they just take the garage and convert it into a living facility complete with kitchen and dining room and bathroom and the whole thing. And then they move into that other unit. So they've retired, they've downsized, they still want to live in their neighborhood, but they move out of the big house and they move into the small house in the backyard and they sell the big house. Right now, they could do that, but they would have to rent out the big house, which for some people that may be the right answer. But for other people, they don't want that hassle. They don't want to worry about the tenants in the big house. They don't want to worry about the upkeep, all of that stuff. So they're going to be better off just selling the main house. They can sell the main house, pay off their loan. They're going to own nothing on the property, and yet they own the tiny house in the backyard as a condo. That is an amazing opportunity. It frees up the main house because one of the challenges to our housing issue right now is the fact that people want to age in place. They don't want to move out into a senior facility. They want to live in the place that they raised their kids. They want to stay in the community that they were in. And so how are they going to be able to do that? This is one way they're going to be able to make that happen. So what does this mean? Well, first of all, the city of Sacramento just released a change. They voted on Monday night to amend their general plan. And it is fully focused around this missing middle. So more about what the missing middle means. Obviously, lots of ways you can use those words, but they're talking not only about the middle of the last 100 years, where they have the last century, where they've really, in the middle of that time, they've missed building these homes. But it's also kind of a middle ground between single family homes and apartment complexes, that middle ground. It also refers to the middle earning people who earn a average wage, but they can't afford the really nice house in the nice neighborhood. And so we need to build more units that are smaller, that are less expensive, that allow those middle earners to be able to purchase a home. So the missing middle is a term that we're going to hear a lot more about, and this really plays into tiny home financing, mobile home, modular homes, ADUs. It's an area I'm diving deep into to figure out how's this all going to work. How can I help my clients get an ADU in their backyard? How can I advise people on how to make this happen? FHA just changed their rules on a renovation loan that says I can take my garage and I can convert it into a completely separate living facility, and I can use a renovation loan to do that. So there's some huge opportunities that are available, and they're going to be getting more and more prevalent, but we're going to hit some roadblocks in the meantime. We're going to have challenges on the guidelines catching up, because you're going to have the right hand and the left hand, and they're not going to be talking to each other. And they're going to say, I want to do this and I want to make it happen. And the other side says, yeah, but we've always done it this way and I don't want change. I don't know how to embrace change. I don't know how to make this happen. And that's a normal process through change, is that you're going to have chaos, you're going to have challenge, you're going to have upheaval. And so I'm going to continue to be your resource. But I'll tell you what, this missing middle, it's a thing. Fannie Mae just last month said that they are now going to allow financing of 2, 3, and 4 unit properties with only 5% down payment. And they cited in a 9-page white paper that this is all because of the missing middle initiative. It's all because Fannie Mae at the top, at the federal government side, Fannie Mae is pushing hard to make it easier to finance properties that meet this missing middle designation. And so if you're looking to buy a primary residence, you can now do it with just 5% down on a conventional loan for a 2-unit, 3-unit, or 4-unit property, because there's legislation changing as we speak. On a lot of programs now, we can count rental income on ADUs. So if you're tight on qualifying and you find a beautiful home that has an ADU in the backyard, you'll be able to qualify for that home easier because we can count the projected rental income on the ADU. All of these things are going to be changing. There's going to be a lot of chaos, as I said, but I'm going to help guide you and help you understand how these things will work and how to make it work to your advantage. So thanks for listening. Hope you have an absolutely wonderful week. Don't forget, if you're local, we've got Santa coming to my office in Roseville on September 9th from 11 a.m. until 2 p.m. So come by. I'd love to meet with you and have a free picture with Santa. Looking forward to seeing you soon, and have a great weekend. Bye-bye.